Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hello, changemakers. Welcome to the DEX show within a show within a show. It's that special Reality Bytes, that special edition of Reality Bytes where me and the team get to talk to fascinating Nexthinkers we have the privilege of calling colleagues. And you'd almost think it was the dog days of summer. We've only got Sean and Dina here with me to welcome our guest today. But that's not because it's everyone's on summer holidays. It's because everybody's moving between experienced locations. We had London last week, and we saw many of you there live. It was wonderful to see and meet so many listeners. And hello, if you came and said hello, it was lovely for Tim and I to meet you there. And hopefully everybody enjoyed the show we released from Experience London last week. And this week, of course, we have Experience Boston, always if anything, even more special occasion, or just a special occasion, I should say. And what better guest to welcome back to Reality Bites? Maybe apart from Sam, Jon, our first returning Reality Bites guest, it's Jon Leighton, of course, friend of the show, supporter of the show, and as I say, returning guest. Jon, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing brilliantly, thanks, Tom, and I feel honoured to get a second opportunity to hang out with some of my favourite Nexthinkers. Wonderful to be here.
Beautiful. And like I always try, and I do mention when I get the opportunity, that so many wonderful guests down the years we've had through your recommendations and introductions. So we don't just consider you a friend of the show, but one of the team, man.
Tom, I love that, and we're blessed in the sort of role I do. We met so many interesting people with a story to share, and when we can bring them in to have a conversation with you and team, that's just phenomenal. We love doing that.
We love to receive. And so to speak. And Jon, to kick things off, maybe because many people in the DEX community who listen to the show will know you personally. Some won't, and they won't even know what it is you do. So what is your kind of quite unique remit here at Nexthink?
Yeah, sure. So folks, my name is Jon Leighton. I run a number of our community programs at Nexthink, and all of those programs are really about how do we help professionals learn, grow, and of course deliver value back into their organizations. I think we take this really seriously. When you think about it, Tom, I mean, collectively, our community is positively impacting kind of the working lives of 20 million plus people around the world. So we think that's a really important mission. We take it really seriously, and that really drives a lot of our efforts around community.
Nobody doubts your conviction on that front, Jon. And we just got to see you in person at Experience London. Maybe, and by the time this airs, we'll likely be in Boston together. All being well, my goodness. Maybe just use Experience itself as a sort of illustration of your role, and go into some of the things you get up to at these world famous DEX events.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, being in London, just such an incredible experience. And I think honestly, we feel blessed to be able to spend that time with our Nexthink customers, our Nexthink community, just hearing about their real world successes, the progress they're making. Tom, I think we live and breathe here in Nexthink, right? It's an incredible place to work. But I'll tell you what, it's so inspiring when we spend time with our customers and hear about their wins, their stories, what it means to them. I think, as you know, we had so many of our customers take to the stage at Experience to share their story.
Indeed.
That's a key part of, what we're driving via the community, creating that opportunity for them to raise their voice. And we believe there's a ton of value to our customers in going on stage, talking about the business value of their DEX initiatives. When we think about it in that way, every IT program, it requires continuous funding. And I think where we're able to help DEX professionals practice, the art of storytelling, they're going to need that when they're trying to influence their leadership, with the hard data, the proven value, but also the act of storytelling. And I think aside from the stage presence, we really want to honor the members of our ambassador program in both London and Boston. These are the true pioneers of DEX. So we love just to take that extra time and attention, really make sure they have a great experience and create that dedicated time for them to kind of meet with one another as well. So I think you folks will have seen some of the artwork we co-created with our ambassadors, which we absolutely loved. It was really reflecting their version of the DEX equation. Incredible sort of diversity of thought in terms of what they came up with, but, real consistency in the theme. So, Tom, I'd love to encourage our audience here to go and check out that artwork and get the views of what the DEX equation is from our ambassadors directly.
Nice. More generally, where does community fit into the broader DEX picture, and why do you think it matters so much? Why is it such an important component of DEX as a technology in general?
Yeah, I think, listen, even beyond DEX, right? Nexthink's, we're a cloud, we're a SaaS company. And I think, today it's non-negotiable that you have a great product. And, folks, we're blessed. We've got an incredible product team. There's an incredible vision, and we see all of that, energy and thought from our product teams, bringing that to life in the products, right? But when you're working with some of the biggest organizations and brands in the world, we also have to think about the other part of SaaS. Great software is essential, but what about the as a service? And I think for Nexthink, that's about having a really great onboarding experience. We've got a phenomenal set of professional services teams helping people get started. It's about how do you educate yourself? All of the free learning courses that Aggo and the team put together, really high quality instructional design. It's even in the small spaces, it's the high quality documentation, easy to consume, easy to understand, our support team, and also an incredible level of guidance provided by our customer success teams. I think of those elements as the as a service part of SaaS, really, really important. So I think when it comes to community, that's about how do we bring our customers together, whether it's online, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, really with a drive for them to share the solutions they're building, but also to share their challenges and actually to provide, inspiration to one another on the art of the possible. I think it was one of our ambassadors, Bob, and he said this beautifully. He kind of said the only limit to the value Nexthink can provide is in the imagination of our engineers. So I think, one of the elements, that we really
That's a crazy great quote, John. It's
beautiful, isn't it? I love it, and it's just, but it gets to the heart of where our customers connect with one another. It's a whirlwind of inspiration. They're bouncing off one another, and I've witnessed it firsthand when they're crowdsourcing together, trying to find common solutions. So that becomes really important. And then I'd also say I think some of our customers actually have a DEX team, right? It's incredible. They've got, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 people dedicated to Nexthink and driving improvements. And when you're in that scenario, you've got people to bounce ideas around with and to inspire you. But other customers, actually, it's a team of one, and that can be a little bit of a lonely place. So I think that's where our community can step in as well. It's great to see people reaching out across our community and inspiring those folks that are maybe a team of one. It's super to see the community support those folks as well.
That's fantastic. Totally aligned with that. And how much of this connects to the demands DEX places on practitioners, those party of one or people who are having DEX ops teams, especially in learning to engage colleagues with a new way of thinking about their IT estate and in finding ways to make that data speak to you?
Yeah, it's a really important point, Dina. I think, my 6.5 years or so at Nexthink, I think I can say I've yet to meet a DEX professional that couldn't wrap their hands around the tech side of DEX, right? But what we saw was this gap emerging around how do you operationalize DEX? And a lot of that comes down to challenges really around organizational change management more than the technology. It's about how people work, how people think, what are the metrics that they've been measured by, especially, in typical IT organizations with strong leaning into ITIL and ITSM. The metrics in those environments sometimes haven't changed in 20 or 30 years, right? So it's actually a deep-rooted organizational change that can help. Now, just to be clear, I see, I've seen customers roll out Nexthink as another tool in the toolkit, and they've achieved incredible results, right? It's just when I see organizations that are starting to talk about experience, at the C-suite and in IT leadership, and that thread runs all the way down, and it becomes more of a mindset change. I think that's where organizations are kind of 3, 4, 5xing the improvements they can make, right? And I think in our user groups, it's a really common theme. How do we drive adoption? How do we get more folks across IT? Everyone's incredibly busy, of course, right? But how do we get more people just starting to think about ingesting Nexthink insights and data into existing processes, or how do we ensure that our DEX teams are really able to reflect the business value of the improvements they're putting together? That's where a lot of the conversations are taking place around our user groups.
Totally agree, John. I think community itself and all of the different activities we do, they are pivotal in connecting the mesh and connecting the dots, whether it's around the process, the people, technology, value, or how we are having communication in place, right?
Yeah.
So you've
That
spoken.
communication, sorry, Dina, that communication piece, absolutely vital, right? And it's been true. It's been wonderful watching some of our customers actually really put, and we're encouraging them to do this, right? We're encouraging them to think like a marketeer. And it sounds alien to IT folks, but actually when you can put a brand behind your DEX initiative, and we've got some customers that have done this incredibly well, that brand you start to use to build trust with your employees, right? That actually we do care about your experience, that we're listening and we're going to act on that. So that communications piece of sort of DEX maturity, really important.
Totally agree. And you've spoken before about Nexthink's partnership with its customers and partners. Can you expand on what that means in practice and how Nexthink strives to stay attentive to the needs of its customers' organizations?
Yeah, sure. So listen, I think it's multifaceted. I think in many areas, I think the partnership approach, I always like to think about partnership with a capital P, right? It's not a partnership of convenience. We're deeply invested in our customers winning and our customers being successful. And I think that starts with the people we work with on the ground. But in one level, we've got a super team of client directors and customer success who are sort of laser focused on helping customers realize value. And ideally, that's just not about kind of traditional IT metrics of value. It's how does that align with business value? So beyond tech ops, it's the business lens that teams are focused on. And I get to see all of those feedback loops as well. The feedback loops at Nexthink between our frontline teams talking with customers all day, every day, and the channels that they're able to bring those insights back and feed our product teams, just phenomenal. Clearly there's also the continued investment in our community programs as well, in making the time to create these opportunities for customers to learn from one another. But we also learn a ton from those engagements as well. We learn a ton from the tech cafes where customers come on and talk to one another and hear from our product teams. Our product folks are just always so willing to either jump on a call with a customer or come along and share their insights at an ambassador product insights event. Honestly, for me, this is what now my fourth software company in 15 years since I moved across from being an operational IT. And I've worked in some organizations where kind of product were kept in an ivory tower, really difficult to just have a sensible conversation. There is just none of that here at Nexthink. There's just a desire from our product teams to work as closely to our customers as possible, to kind of learn what's working, to learn about new challenges. And I think, that manifests through a brilliant research team we have with Patrick, Mark, Oriana, that's sometimes on this show, right? All of that together just creates a wonderful opportunity for us just to learn from the people that are doing the real hard work on the ground across our customer base.
Hey, John, I'm curious, how much of that ethos, the focus on customers and collaboration you're speaking about, stems from having a CEO founder who helped develop the technology and still takes such a hands-on interest in how it's being used to help customers?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sean. I mean, I remain, of course, in awe of Pedro. Not just the vision and the continual drive, even after 20 years, to continue to enhance that vision and make it a reality. Between Pedro and Sam, I've been blessed to be at a number of our experience events each year. And always Pedro and Sam talk about kind of the next big thing coming, and they make a commitment. And what's wonderful is their Nexthink honors that commitment. And generally, by the time the next experience event kind of rolls around, we're kind of showing off the thing they teased the year before. So it's just super to see us, as a hugely innovative organization, but also honoring our commitments. When we say something, we're going to do it. So that's brilliant. And then, and honestly, part of the kind of aura of Pedro, I think, is just how approachable he is. We hosted an Ask Pedro Anything session for our ambassadors a month or so ago, and he spent an hour with our ambassadors live, right? Just talking, taking their questions, just having a conversation. So he's such a kind of natural in those sorts of environments. So we see that at Experience as well. Of course, he's a really busy guy, but he's always making time to talk to our ambassadors, to talk to our customers, to understand them. And even, the overriding kind of community ethos really comes from Pedro, and really permeates through the company. And that's been the way from the very start 20 years ago, this idea that if we could get together this community of DEX professionals and listen intently to them, that's going to help us drive the right product innovation and produce solutions to the problems they face.
Good stuff. All right, let's talk then about career prospects for any DEX practitioner in the field right now, 2025. What opportunities are out there that are emerging? How can Nexthink support those people as they develop their expertise and grow their careers?
Yeah, sure. So, listen, I don't think it comes as a shock to any of us. It's tough out there right now, isn't it, across many sectors, and IT folks are not immune to that. But we do strongly believe that by developing both a deep understanding of DEX and the value of DEX, and then tying that to sort of practical understanding and expertise within the Nexthink solution, it becomes a great differentiator for folks in the job market, right? I think now we're always standing by to support DEX professionals, whether they're one of our customers or not. And in fact, in the last year or so, we've been fortunate enough to help a number of people kind of move into new roles, and sort of continue their career as a DEX pro. And at the same time, we've witnessed folks getting promoted based on their efforts, getting bonuses, really down to the value that the DEX initiatives they're leading are driving. So we definitely feel it's a strong differentiator for folks. We encourage people to get involved, to learn more. And, as I'll call it a slight side project, we keep a track of what we call a Nexthink alumni. And that's folks that for whatever reason may not be working at one of our customers anymore, but we're always on hand to try and offer them some support, try and help them get connected to others in the community to find that next role. So it just goes way beyond this notion of the fact that someone works at a customer or not. It's really about just trying to support DEX professionals and deliver on that career growth promise that we believe in.
Very cool. All right. At the highest level, if I'm understanding you correctly, then I guess the partnership with individuals kind of comes to life through the ambassador program. Is there anything you haven't yet mentioned that's particularly exciting or unique about this initiative?
Yeah, I think we've perhaps touched on a couple of pieces earlier in the conversation, but I would say one of the things we're really trying to do with our ambassadors, we're not kind of bound by Nexthink as a piece of technology, right? Like I said earlier, I think all of our ambassadors just have been able to wrap their hands around Nexthink as a set of capabilities, really without too many problems. And of course, the latest versions of Assist make it, even easier to do that. I've got to tell you a story. Actually, I met a brand new customer 3 or 4 weeks ago, based over in San Francisco. And they were literally just deploying the collectors, right? And they hadn't even had any of the wonderful professional services engagement that we do to onboard folks. And yet on day one, once those collectors were out, they were already using Assist and starting to bring data back, starting to understand. I think they described it to me as the best onboarding type technology they'd ever seen in their career from a SaaS company. So, I think that Assist capability is absolutely phenomenal. But going back to the ambassadors, I think it goes beyond just the tech, right? It's really about how do we support them in the broader set of skills you need as a DEX pro. For the last couple of years, we have a deep interest in sort of XLA. Nexthink are part of or a founding member of the XLA Institute. So, for the last couple of years, we've run XLA training for ambassadors. We've hosted storytelling workshops. We've led sessions on things like influence and adoption strategies, on how to measure value. Again, from that business lens, how do you tie in the value to IT to the value that brings to your organization? So I would say that's, we're really excited about 2026 and our ambassador planning. It's about, again, it's more than just learning about the tech. Our AGA and the Learn team do a phenomenal job of providing training in those areas. So this is more about what are those other skills, sometimes called the soft skills, right? That are going to help you develop your career and also to drive this adoption of Nexthink and increase the value that it delivers in your organization.
Wonderfully said as ever, John. And just as important as community is to that part of as a service that is constitutive of what Nexthink offers. I think you're as important a part as that community. I know your reputation is absolutely phenomenal among so many DEX practitioners and so much that Nexthink puts on. So real pleasure to have you back on the show. Always appreciate your contributions to Nexthink and the DEX community, both in and out of the context of the DEX show, and great to see you. Last question then for you: how can people listening, if they're not already, get involved in the community stuff and in your ambassador programs and such like?
Sure. Well, firstly, listen, you're way too kind. We couldn't do what we do from a community without having a great product at the heart of it, right? Our customer success teams couldn't do what they do so well without a high quality product. So it's a one team effort. And even in the community space, there's a whole team of us, from Andrew, Charlotte, Sarah, Ebba, Kat, Yanela, Josh, all driving this same message, right? So even within our team, it's a huge team effort, by no means just me. But I think, to answer the question, for our current customers and partners, go search for Nexthink community, right? Go register, come and be part of that conversation. It's dead easy to go and do that. You go and find us, register, come and be part of the conversation, right? For future customers, I mean, if you're already talking with our teams, we'd love you to come along and be part of the community, come along to the events, hear from other customers, and go take a look at that kind of phenomenal sort of learn training that I've been bigging up. So same drill there really as well. Go search for Nexthink community, go and register. And then the team will be in touch to help you get onboarded into community and come and be part of it. And I think for those that are I'll say on the periphery, which is a great book, by the way, I just read. For those on the periphery that are just really learning about DEX, finding out about the concepts, just interested in knowing more, Tom, the work you and the team have done with the DEX Hub, what a phenomenal place for folks to go and learn from other people in the industry, from ourselves. So many of our customers, as you said, sharing what they're doing on there. Sean, the DEX certs that you work really hard on putting together. What is it now? 7 or 8 DEX certs that folks can go and take for free on the DEX Hub. All of those things are a great way for people to get connected to our community. And goes without saying, Tom, the podcast as well, a brilliant way to stay connected and tune into what's happening in the DEX space.
It's a love fest, ladies and gentlemen. But
Isn't it just, Tom?
Yeah, but what better excuse to fill those show notes with useful links and resources, or any excuse. John, any excuse to have you back on the show. And I guess about the time this goes live, I'll be seeing you again in person, and hopefully many listeners out there at Boston experience, and I look forward to that. Thanks so much.
Yeah, come see us at our Ambassador Hub. We'd be delighted to get you connected to some other customers in Boston, and obviously a massive array of high value sessions, and Tom, they get to meet you. Wow.
Indeed. Quite the occasion. Worth the price of a ticket alone.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how Nexthink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nexthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.